ReedPOP, ReedPOP, ReedPOP. Just when I thought they couldn't get any stupider and any worse than I already thought they were, they just pull this bullshit. Unfucking believable. So, for any of you living in New York or the Northeast, or in the East Coast in general, and if you often go to big New York conventions like New York Comic Con or Anime NYC, if you didn't get the news on Saturday, New York Comic Con is having an Anime Fest, a separate anime convention that is organized by them, but it's taking place at the same time as New York Comic Con. Okay? And the worst part about it is that it was announced the day before the general ticket sale for New York Comic Con tickets. This is unfucking believable. And this has happened just several months after last year's Anime NYC, which was a success with over 20,000 people in attendance. That's fantastic. But now, all of a sudden, the New York Comic Con wants to make another anime convention after 6 years of not bringing us New York Anime Festival? Yeah, that's totally coincidental. No doubt in my mind. No doubt. Everybody has been calling him out. New York Comic Con made this anime festival just because they want to compete with Anime NYC. They want to hurt Anime NYC. Anime NYC has become a great alternative for anime fans who can't go to New York Comic Con or are disappointed with the fact that New York Comic Con pretty much shoves anime to the side. And now all of a sudden they care about anime all of a sudden? Come the fuck on. Okay, so for people who don't understand what I'm talking about or are completely out of the blue, so let me explain everything. Let's kind of start all the way back to when New York Comic Con and New York Anime Festival were starting all the way back in the late 2000s, particularly 2007. So 2007, New York Anime Festival made its debut. It became a spin-off of New York Comic Con, but more focused on anime and Japanese culture and what have you. It took place around December of 2007. December every year from 2007 to 2009. Sadly, I did not go to a single one of them. My first New York Comic Con was 2012, and I couldn't go. I missed out on all the good days of New York Anime Festival. At that time, I was still in college, and also I was starting my YouTube channel, so doing those two things at once, I really didn't have much time to go to any convention, especially in December when finals were happening. So anyway, fast forward to 2010, New York Anime Festival was merged into New York Comic Con. Now they're both one convention at the Javits Center at the same month, which is in October. New York Comic Con started taking place in October because of Chicago Comic Entertainment Expo taking place in April, which they own as well, because New York Comic Con used to take place in April or in the late 2000s until 2010. So because New York Comic Con and New York Anime Festival were very close to each other, they decided to merge them. So 2011 would be the last time they would use the New York Anime Festival name, and by 2012 it was all New York Comic Con, and that was the first year I would attend New York Comic Con. So yeah, I missed out on New York Anime Festival big time, but thankfully I got the next best thing 5 years later, and I'll get to that in a moment. So for the next 5 to 6 years, anime fans in New York City and in the East Coast in general were complaining that they discontinued New York Anime Festival, and New York Comic Con and ReedPOP just were not listening. They had their ears covered like la 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 la. We don't care what you want. La 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 la. We're gonna give everything at New York Comic Con. If anime, comics. We don't care if anime gets shoved to the side in favor of the pop culture stuff. You're gonna like it, you're gonna deal with it whether you like it or not. Fast forward 5 years later into 2017. The former organizers of New York Anime Festival started a new anime convention in New York City called Anime NYC, and it takes place in November after New York Comic Con, the month after New York Comic Con, But it also takes place at the Javits Center, the very same venue that New York Comic Con takes place every year. The convention was a success, selling over 20,000 tickets, and it was a fun convention. I went there myself. I had one hell of a time. I can tell you, it's so much better than New York Comic Con in its current state, at least. And it was far less crowded. It was easy to get in. I didn't have to deal with long ass lines just to get inside the convention. It was easy to buy tickets. I could take all my time and wait about a month or two before the event begins. I have to wait till it's sold out like months before, like New York Comic Con, and I don't have to wait in queues to get the tickets. And best of all, the cell phone reception at the Javits Center is better probably because of the less crowded areas. And yeah, and although the show floor was smaller and it only took part of the Javits, it was still a fantastic convention. And I can't wait to go again later this year. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on Anime NYC compared to New York Comic Con, I will post a link. So here we are in July of 2018, a month after the pre-sale tickets for people who fan verified and went last year to New York Comic Con, and after the success of Anime NYC, all of a sudden, out of the blue, New York Comic Con and ReedPOP bring back New York Anime Festival under the name Anime Fest in collaboration with the West Coast Anime Expo. The problem with this event is that it's setting itself up for failure, and it's badly organized. And when it was announced, a lot of the people on the New York Comic Con Facebook and Twitter pages were complaining. That it's just bad timing, and let me tell you why. It's a separate event, cool. You don't need New York Comic Con tickets, although you get a discount for buying the Anime Fest tickets if you already have New York Comic Con tickets. You don't need fan verification. These tickets are sold separately. You can buy them if you're not going to New York Comic Con or you have not bought New York Comic Con tickets, and they're pretty cheap for $20, $20 to $25 each, without discount, of course. Although Anime NYC still has the cheaper deal, as you can get a $65 weekend pass, not counting taxes. If you add up the Anime Fest tickets individually for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's over $70. And it's even more if you buy the Thursday tickets. But you know what the biggest problem with this event is? It's taking place at the same time, at the same exact days as New York Comic Con. October 4th through October 7th. And the Javits Center is far away from Pier 94, which is where Anime Fest is taking place. This is a bad idea for people who are going to both. It's going to take 20 minutes to walk from the Javits Center to Pier 94, from New York Comic Con to Anime Fest, and 20 minutes back from Anime Fest to New York Comic Con. Unless you have a special bus, this is not going to work. And there are no trains nearby either. The nearest train to the Javits is the 7th train, but what about Pier 94? You gotta deal with multiple buses and train transfers from the Javits to Pier 94 and back. So unless you got a car, or you got enough money for a taxi or Uber, yeah, you got it. Your best bet is to walk from the Javits Center to the Pier 94. And it's going to take a while. It may not take 20 minutes, depending on how slow you are. What idiot at ReedPOP thought this was a good idea? What were you thinking? The only reason why you did this was to hurt Anime NYC. You want to crush Anime NYC after we finally have an alternative. After 5 years of fans demanding New York Anime Festival to come back. After fans complaining that you took away New York Anime Festival. 5 to 6 years later, we finally get an alternative, and all of a sudden you supposedly care about anime? Bullshit. You want to hurt them. You don't like alternatives. You don't like it when they when they do that. You want everything in your overcrowded convention, your overcrowded and expensive ass convention that not everybody can get in, and it's hard to buy tickets, and it's a pain in the ass. Fuck you, ReedPOP, and I am no longer supporting you. Man, I am glad that 2017 was my final year at New York Comic Con, and Anime NYC, with how great it was, made me decide that. And now, with this new Anime Fest, that further cemented it. To all the anime fans in the Northeast, I ask you this. Do you love Anime NYC? Did you love going last year? Do you want to go again this year? Do you want to see it continue? Then do yourself a favor. Do not go to Anime Fest. Do not support Anime Fest. And do not support New York Comic Con. And if you already bought New York Comic Con tickets, make this your last year. Do not support them next year. Please. Please. Anime fans need to send a message to them. We need to show them who's boss. We need to show them that they screwed over anime fans, and we're not going to buy into their bullshit. And I gotta ask a question to Anime Expo from the West Coast. Why did you collaborate with New York Comic Con? Why did you collaborate with ReedPOP? Why didn't you collaborate with Anime NYC instead? If you did it with Anime NYC, we would have gotten a true Anime Expo East. Just why? Why did you do this? Why did you collab with ReedPOP? Did ReedPOP pay you a good chunk of money to hurt Anime NYC? Did they really do that? That's all I gotta say about this rant. I'm AliRx, and I'll see you on the other side.